Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PowettPlay Podcast. It's me, Jordan Shannon, and as always, I'm joined by Kieran Powell. How are you, Kai, at the minute?
Not too bad. I've had better weeks, but no, not too bad.
Yeah, I know you mentioned obviously, picking up a bit of being a bit under the weather. I definitely hope you feel a bit better soon.
Yeah, I'm recovering nicely, so not too
Uh,
worried about that. How about you?
yeah, I'm not too bad, thank you. Thankfully, when you messaged me today to jump on this podcast, it stopped me from doing a bit of DIY at home. So forever grateful for that one, anyway.
Here's what we're gonna set up a routine daily message where you can jump off of the
Yeah,
DIY then.
no, that sounds like a plan. That I said to the wife, I was like, "Look, what can I do? We need to catch up."
100%.
Exactly. Um, well, the West Indies have arrived in Ireland, and they've got three ODIs starting a week. So when next Wednesday next week. What did you make of the squad that was announced initially, and how do you see them going, really?
I think most people seem to have received the squad pretty well. I don't think
Yeah.
that there could have been, I guess, many changes or many other options to the squad. The squad
Yeah.
seems to be pretty settled as well, so no, it looks a good squad.
Yeah,
Happy to
there's
see the
some,
team arriving in Ireland well in advance as well, giving them quite a bit of time to practice, which is not the norm given current global standards.
yeah, I think that like I said, it's a nice time for them to get used to it and used to the climate. Because I did have a giggle before because I seen Roston practicing and he's got a gilet on and three layers. I'm thinking it's warm over here at the minute. There's windows open in the house for once. Like this is borderline, heat wave stuff over here. So the fact he's training in three layers and a gilet, I'm like, wow.
It was, I think, 2 days ago. It got up to 28 degrees down here. So, I mean,
That's
to
hot.
see him that, I guess, covered up, just across in Ireland, that's crazy, but funny as well.
Yeah, it might be the Irish breeze that's preventing him from being warm. But no, I think when I seen the squad that announced, there's some good balance there. It's good to see. Some returning names. I know that Evan Lewis is back in the setup. He's thinking that he will open the batting with Brandon King.
I mean, he has been from since he's come back into the
Oh,
team.
sorry.
Was
Yes,
it
sorry.
last?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I remember he's back into the
yeah.
team.
Of
So he
course, yeah.
scored a century against someone. I can't remember. I think it was against England and a 90
Back
something as well.
against Bangladesh.
He scored a century against Bangladesh then, and then a
Yeah,
90 something against England. I think he got out trying to hit a 60 something. But I think,
something like yeah,
yeah, Evan Lewis's experience and his ability. I don't know why. I mean, obviously he had a bad run of form for a period of time there before he got dropped. But I think that sometimes players get dropped for a bit too long in the Caribbean as well. Sometimes players just need to be out of the system for a while to, regather themselves and then brought back in. So I'm happy to see
yeah,
him back in the West Indies team because I think that he's, I mean, well, not think, we all know that he's very destructive.
yeah.
And to be able to bat at that strike rate with that average is exactly what the West Indies would need, especially if he can be consistent with it in these two series coming up, because obviously the West Indies need to win as many games as possible and try and get direct qualification to the 2027 World Cup. And being a nation that doesn't play as much ODI cricket as some of the other countries that even have the opportunity to further pack their schedules and add additional games to give
Yeah.
them the qualification as and when they need to. West
Yeah.
Indies need to take every opportunity here and try and cement as many wins as possible while still developing players because you look at the squad, it's still a pretty young squad, batting and bowling,
Yeah.
um, in reality, because you've got, let's say, the likes of Sherfane and Rutherford, obviously experienced franchise player, but still
Yeah.
10 ODIs in or something. Justin Graves, Ami
Yeah.
Jangle.
Django. Yeah.
Um, you got Joel Andrew back in the squad. And from the bowling standpoint, you've got a Jaden Sears, a Shamar Joseph. These guys are very inexperienced
Yeah.
in ODI cricket. So the West Indies are going to need to still find a way to win. So I'm looking at it as a winning development type of tool because they need to win as much games as possible, but they need to
Yeah.
develop and give opportunities to players as much as possible as well. So they have to strike that balance.
In terms of decide, do you see Shea batting four with Brandon King and Evan Lewis opening the batting?
I've never been a big fan of Shea batting at four, to be honest with you. I think
Right,
that
okay.
Shea should have been the opening batsman with Evan.
Okay.
Um, and obviously from since Shea became captain, when you're captain you have the power. So
Yeah.
you can set things, I guess, the way you want. But if you look at the stats, Shea Hope as an opener for the West Indies, he was on par to being the only person I think that can possibly challenge Chris Gale for becoming the most successful ODI opener for the West Indies. I think he already had anywhere between 10 and 13 centuries as an opening batsman for the West Indies, and he also had the highest average as anyone that's opened the batting for the West Indies ever. I think it was
Yeah.
like 60, his average as an opening batsman.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for someone to lay the foundation and people to bat around, I think that he'd be a good foil for an Evan Lewis type of player. And then by the time, let's say, Evan gets in, if he does get out, she will be flowing a lot more. So which
Yeah.
will allow Casey Carty to then play that anchor role and Shea
Right,
to
okay.
express himself a bit more because he's already had enough time at the crease. And I think that Brandon King is probably one of the better players of spin in terms of like hitting spin in the
Right,
Premier.
okay.
I'm not sure if people know this, but like, when you're playing practice matches or you're playing against Brandon King,
Yeah.
spinners are on edge because Brandon King hits it regularly and he hits it far. So
Right, okay.
I think that for me, I would have loved to see that switch. Mind you, I'm not necessarily against what they're doing now, but I just think that to get the best out of the pieces that
Yeah.
are available,
Right, okay.
in my opinion, I think that would be the way forward. And then that allows you to have the likes of the Sherfy and Rutherfords, etc., coming in at 5, 6, 7 and finishing off the innings.
Yeah, you know what the point there you made out about Brandon King is brilliant insight from what you're saying because people naturally would just assume putting him down as an opening batter and that's that. But the way you're speaking about slightly adjusting his position because of how well he plays spin and but aggressively plays spin could be um a real benefit to West Indies because I was just slightly jumping forward to when they play England. England have always had very good success with the period when Adil Rashid bowls. So if they got somebody in that passage of play who can take him on and be aggressive, it's a fantastic platform to be able to go and really carry that out.
Yeah, I just think that I mean, obviously, growing up, Brandon King has always been a mid-order batter as well.
Yeah,
Uh, so it's not something that's new to him. That's where he started for the West Indies as well.
yeah.
I was looking at some stats, and I think his most successful position um, outside of opening has been at number five.
Right, okay.
But I think that obviously he's gained enough experience now where I would have him at number four. I think Casey Carty is pretty settled at number three. He's
Three,
been the
yeah, yeah.
person that we've been looking for a long time.
Yeah,
I'd like to see him get a bit more responsibility as well, whether that be him captaining things like the regional franchise or A teams and stuff, because you
yeah.
also have to bear in mind that Shea Hope is 32, they say, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken.
Yeah, 32 this time.
So, just trying to make sure you have enough experienced guys in and around the team with leadership qualities that you can look at as viable options.
Yeah.
Because if we're talking about 2027 World Cup, Shea will be, what's that, 34?
He's 32. He's 32 in this time next year. So he's 31 at the minute. So his next birthday's
Right.
32. So he would be, yeah, 34, 35, give or
Yeah.
take. So,
Yep. So you're not looking for Shea Hope to be the captain in 2031 World Cup then.
no, no.
So that's why, from my vantage point, that's my thinking. Obviously, short term and long term. Short term as well. I think, especially in the Ireland series, you want to try and see as much of Amir Django, Justin Graves, Adriel Andrew. If you can find a way to get those guys into the 11 for 2 games each, however you mix and match that
Yeah.
to give them exposure. I'd also like to see Amir Django's keeping at the international level. I'd like to see
Right,
Joel
okay.
Andrews keeping. at the international level. I think that because they're all batters that keep along with Shea. If it's a situation where Shea doesn't even keep in this leg
Yeah,
of the series, to allow them the opportunity to keep wicket so you can see what options you have, I think that would be
yeah.
good as well
Okay.
because we know that Shea is the keeper,
Yeah,
but he's also a very, very good fielder in the outfield. Very quick mover as well, and we've seen
yeah,
him do that within franchise T20 leagues and in international cricket and Test cricket as well. We've seen him in the outfield, so
yeah,
it's nothing that's new to him. And as I said, for me in particular, this Ireland series is one where you're looking to win, but you're looking for development, and
yeah,
so you want to see as many players in as many different roles as possible as well.
yeah. And you mentioned there about Joel Andrew playing and Django playing, etc. And I think that I don't know what they're going to do, whether they'll replace Mario Shepherd as well, because I do believe that he is going back to the IPL to play with RCB. So whether that actually does happen or not, it's only an article I read today. Whether they might, do you reckon they'll bring in another replacement for him, or do you reckon they'll just leave it as it is?
I reckon they will because I think they only selected what was it, a
Fif-
14-man squad, 15-man
Uh,
squad, is it?
15, I think it were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, 15.
So maybe they won't bring in a replacement, then I'm not too sure because you've still got Alzari Joseph, you've got Jaden Sears, you've got Shamar Joseph, you've got Matthew Ford,
Good catch Melky
um,
as well, obviously from the Olympics. Yeah.
you've got Gudakesh Moti, you still got Roston
Yeah.
Chase. So you can mix and match those fast bowlers. And again, you're trying to get as much work as possible into the Matthew Ford,
Yeah.
the Shamar Joseph, the Jaden Sears. Alzari, I don't expect to play all 3 games of this series because there's no need for him to play all 3 games of this series.
No.
You want to see how Jaden Sears backs up what was a good series against Bangladesh. Obviously,
Yeah.
starting his one-day career has been pretty tough. Um, you want to see how Shamar Joseph goes in ODI cricket. He's not had much cricket for someone that's been around for what's it, a year and a half
Yeah.
now. He's not really played much games. He's been injured quite a bit. So you need to, I guess, ease him into cricket, having playing a bit more cricket, a bit more consistently,
Yeah.
injury free, or even if it's with an injury, because fast bowlers do have to manage lots of injuries.
Yeah.
You want it to be understanding how to play with pain or play through pain as opposed to playing with an injury. You know, those are two different things. But you definitely need to see a lot more of him. I think what we've seen of Matthew Ford so far has been good, and what we've seen of him in the regional
I
40
was
cricket
going to say
has been,
regional wide, definitely.
yes,
Yeah.
has been
Especially the
very
bat.
impressive. Exactly. So we know now that he is capable of handling himself with the bat, fully given the opportunity to bat, and then that also allows for you to have him coming in after a Roston chase. And even remember that Gudakesh Moti's batting was used quite
Yeah.
effectively in the past series as well to have that left-right balance in finishing off some games in the last ODI series that we played. So I think it's just understanding these final little details and exposing, I guess, the right combinations to try and get exposure and opportunity to meet at the perfect point. Because I think that obviously, and Alzari being the experienced senior fast bowler, you definitely start him in the first game. I think you play him in the third game as well,
Yeah.
and you have some combination of junior players in that middle game because whilst a Jaden Seals, for example, may be inexperienced in ODI cricket, he's obviously pretty much well experienced in Test cricket now. He's played over
Yeah.
20 Test matches,
Yeah.
developing nicely into probably what's going to be one of the best bowlers in the world, probably in a year and a half, 2 years, in my opinion,
Yeah.
if he continues to play and stay fit, because he's a quick learner. He's improving his skill set each and every time you see him play. So I'm happy that I'm finished playing and I got the upper hand of him pretty much most times that I played against him. Um, but no, he's a quality cricketer and a very good
Yeah.
person. So, you want to see him to continue to grow in limited overs cricket as well. And I think that him and Shamar Joseph are quite similar in why they haven't had necessarily that success in ODI cricket yet. And that's because their success in Test cricket is their weakness in ODI cricket because of the length
Fancy ball, yeah.
that they bowl. Yep, they're a lot fuller. Whereas Alzari Joseph's strength in ODI cricket and T20 cricket is his weakness in Test cricket, again, because
Yeah.
of the length that they bowl. So it's just for them now all to come together and
Yeah.
assist each other in terms of, okay,
Yeah.
how do you pull your legs back for this one? How do I get my length
Yeah.
fuller for that one?
But that's hopefully where what you mentioned about them being over here a week in advance, you can really work on those. And also with Jaden Seales being over here playing for Sussex previously, or sorry, well, playing for Sussex in the county championship, hopefully he's just figured it out a little bit more about where his length needs to be. I appreciate it's 4 day cricket, so it's slightly obviously going to be different. But with him being over here as well, and getting used to conditions, I think that hopefully will play a part in hopefully him having a big white ball series.
Correct. I think that that's something that I would like to see for Shamar Joseph as well. I mean, I know he's getting T20 franchise opportunities and stuff, but I'm not sure if he played a match at the IPL. So I would have
When I
much
looked,
preferred,
yeah, I
yeah, I
can't
would have
quite
much
remember. Yeah.
preferred that he came and played county cricket because he's still young.
Yeah.
Um, T20 cricket is not going anywhere. So if he missed one season of an IPL, to come and play county cricket, especially given that he got injured, um, came back and played some 4 day games and then got injured again in the regional championship. You'd have liked to see him sort of come back and start building himself up
Yeah.
with a long term view of, okay, I will have these T20 opportunities, but those have come on the back of some very strong and impressive performances in Test match cricket.
Cricket, yeah. Of course he will.
So
Well, he got picked
continue
off the
to
back of the Australia series. Let's be totally honest.
exactly,
That's what it
exactly.
was.
So continue to build and develop those skills because, as I keep saying, 45 day cricket harnesses your entire skill set across the spectrum because you have to do an array of things and you develop an array of skills.
Yeah.
That gives you ultimate control over line and length because you have to be accurate and consistent to get batters out in 40 cricket. And that's what I want to see for him developing long term because you look at a Josh Hazelwood, no one would have thought that he would have been such a stellar
Yeah.
T20 bowler. But if you look at him in the IPL time after time after bowling to the best T20 batters, the best batters in the world.
Yeah.
Very consistent, very economical,
Massively.
always in the wickets, and
Definitely.
someone that most franchises depend on once he's there.
And the thing is, you mentioned there about Josh Hazelwood, whether it's over one or over 20, he's capable of carrying that out from a skill set perspective. And that's what you mentioned there about the likes of Jalen Seals and Shamar Joseph is that I just hope that they play the volume of 50 over cricket because well, Shamar Joseph, I just checked then, Shamar Joseph hasn't played since February. And then obviously, Jaden Seals has got to, again, because he hasn't, did he play this year in the 50 over stuff?
Jaden Sears or
Yeah.
Shmarja?
No, Jaden Seals.
He's played for West Indies in 50 over
No, I
stuff.
mean, did he play for in the regional stuff?
Regional footer, yes, he did until he came to play for Sussex. He
Yeah,
was, and that's why Trinidad were
that's
in contention. He was
yeah.
having
But did he play any
mixed.
50 over stuff this year for? So his
The
last
50, the 50 over stuff regionally was last year, but for West Indies, he did play
in the Bangladesh series, yeah.
against that Bangladesh series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where the sort of hopefully the development, comes into play. I'm sorry, I'm going to jump back because you made a really interesting point, and I kind of want you to sort of extend on that a bit. You mentioned about playing through pain is different, obviously, in terms of different from playing through with an injury. What do you mean?
So as cricketers, you are very hardly ever 100% fit. So you now have to learn to manage um,
Like your
and
niggles.
and heighten your niggles as
Right.
opposed to what is an injury. You're never going to be fully comfortable. Like, I can have, let's say, for example, as someone that's a slip fielder, I may have a sore or swollen or even a sprained finger,
Yeah.
but that can't stop me from fielding in the slips or
Yeah.
playing, as opposed to a broken finger.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
just understanding little barriers of pain and what you should and could play through, as
Yeah.
opposed to shutting it all down. It's very rare for you to want to shut it all down because um, that's going to really affect your career. Because
Yeah.
if you shut it all down at the slightest sign of discomfort, that's pretty much every day of a cricketer's life. Even something as simple as waking up and going to the gym, like you hardly ever feel like you're always sore from something,
Yeah.
but we have to push through those barriers. So it's important, especially for these younger players, to understand what they can and can't play through.
Yeah, no, 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 I'm glad that it's good to for you to explain that really. Do you think though that's when sometimes as a quick bowler you have to then understand your body in terms of taking rest days in between games?
100%. And again, all of that comes with experience, and experience not only in the sense of you playing,
Yeah,
but experience in you looking at other guys that have been playing before you, playing for a long time,
yeah,
and understanding how they consistently go about and get through their day-to-day routine, especially when you're talking about guys that are playing multiple formats of the game,
yeah,
because then it becomes very important, your rest, your recovery, your eating habits, your lifestyle, all these things, to be able to keep up with today's demands for a player, and understanding when you need a break. Sometimes you may genuinely need a break from cricket.
yeah,
Sometimes you may just need to cut back. Sometimes you may just need, you know,
yeah,
a few extra minutes or hours. So it's
yeah.
just understanding what's required of you and how your body can manage and handle to get through, I guess, your workload.
Yeah. No, I think like you said, the way you broke that down, it makes sense. That's something that comes with experience. But I just want to quickly go back to the ODI series with Ireland. And you mentioned at the very start of the show about it's important for when West Indies to start winning games for the automatic for the World Cup. But I think that I kind of just hope that they don't look past Ireland and the fact that with what's around the corner, we're playing England really, because the way that Ireland are, they play a lot of 50 over cricket and they play a lot of T20 cricket. And you mentioned there about skills and various bits. They've because of the distraction that they don't have, it allows them to be extremely focused when it comes to white ball cricket. And I think that if they are to sort of look more ahead to England, they could be in for three really tough games.
I mean, I don't expect it to be three easy games at all. I expect Ireland to be three tough games. As you said, they're very experienced, very well
Yeah.
versed, and these are their conditions. I
Yeah.
think the last time the West Indies would have played Ireland, if I'm not mistaken, Ireland won the series, at least out in the Caribbean. So
Yeah.
it's not West Indies going into this series thinking it's a pushover or an easy series at all. The West Indies need to be well prepared, come with proper plans.
Yeah.
It's not a series where you expect the spinners to be high wicket takers. Because obviously, I mean, if guys are wearing puffer jackets, it's not going to spin.
Well,
I've not seen those things correlate before in my life. So it's a series where your fast bowlers or your seam
yeah.
bowlers are going to have to strike up front, and you're going to have to continue striking as much as possible
Yeah.
throughout the course of the innings, because that's the best way to restrict teams from scoring. Keep taking wickets.
Yeah, and I think that's where the West Indies have got that advantage with the quicks that we've just previously discussed, and I think that they'll be looking to get some overs under the belt. They'll be looking to to make a stand really because the volume of cricket that they probably haven't played and things. And I'm also looking forward to seeing Shea, really as well because he didn't really particularly have the strongest PSL series, and with lots of talk around potentially him returning to Test cricket and obviously taking the T20 captaincy. This is his bread and butter, really. This is where you mentioned his statistics, over the past few years, and I'm sure he's the leading run scorer since a specific time in terms of in 50 over cricket wise. He's been doing fantastically well. So I'm hoping for these three games he can get a bit more momentum under his belt, and then some big performances against England.
Well, a trend I've noticed with Shea over the past few years is he generally scores a century in the first match of an audio series, and then
Okay.
it's generally a not out, and then it sort of tapers off. So again, it depends on the amount of time that's left for him to bat when he gets to the crease. But
Yeah.
just look out for that. If it's generally a century, if he has enough time, or a half century not out,
Yeah, not out, yeah.
and just look for that trend. So I think what's going to be important, I mean, especially from his standpoint, know that he's captain across all white ball formats, is he's going to want to put his own stamp, his own mark
Massively.
on the entire white ball format to show that he can be consistent across both formats. So I think, I mean, he's the only West Indian batter, if I'm not mistaken, that has averaged 50 in ODI cricket, that I know of anyway.
Recent time, yeah.
So yeah, I think that obviously he's in a class by himself. He's 17 ODI centuries in 130 little bit of
Yeah.
matches. Um, it's just for him to continue to push himself and see how far he can get to.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I mean, obviously the world knows his talent and his ability, and it's just for him to really know at this latter half of his career find new ways to challenge himself.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, I think that perfectly, perfectly put. That I just want to quickly touch on as well that, from the previous podcasts that we've been doing and the chats we've been doing, we've had, some brilliant, people commenting, and it's been great to get that interaction with our listeners. And in particular, there was a comment earlier today that was sort of mentioning about Darren Sammy doing too much not to ruffle feathers, and it will be obviously be scrutinised until he obviously brings in another title. And then the pressure goes sort of back on again. What did you make of the comment? And obviously, your comment back was in terms of obviously Darren Sammy, you knowing him and things, which is obviously brilliant to get that insight. But is that something that's always going to be the case?
That should always be the case. You will be scrutinized in any high performing environment. The
Yeah,
objective is to win. Um, I guess sometimes people say that they can accept a loss as long as you put up a fight.
yeah,
I've never really subscribed to that, but I guess I understand in theory what they mean. But the objective is to win, and I think that Sammy has been saying that he is building towards the 2027 World Cup for some time.
yeah,
And you can sort of see the team shaping and framing towards that direction in terms of the selection. Selections have been pretty consistent, to be
yeah,
fair,
yeah,
across the board. Guys have been pretty settled in the ODI team in terms of who's batting where, who's bowling where, etc. And it's now just a matter of them getting enough reps under their belt, enough game time,
yeah.
enough opportunities, so that by the time 2027 comes, the main objective qualify, and B are competitive enough and experienced enough to get through certain passages of play against their respective opposition. So I don't think that Sammy is one to not wanting to ruffle the feathers. I think Sammy's one that has a pretty clear idea of what he wants, and he goes about doing things the way that he thinks that he will get the best result.
Yeah, and from my perception, he seemed very clear on what he wants, and I think it's a massive plus. It's the focus and it's the consistency that you mentioned there with the squad selections. It's understanding your roles, understanding what you're doing within that side, when you will play, when you won't play potentially. I think it's that consistency that will help the West Indies when it comes round to the World Cup that you mentioned.
100%. I mean, like I said, I think that if there's one person that I mean, Sammy's captain two World Cup winning teams, could have
Yeah,
possibly been three, because I think that when Sri Lanka won in Bangladesh, the West Indies got knocked out of the tournament because of all things possible. There was a hailstorm
yeah,
in Bangladesh. So it literally took an act of God to stop the West Indies from winning a third. Well, what would have been a second at the time,
yeah,
but eventually what would have turned out to be a third T20 World Cup now. And you look at the players in that team, um, all high profile, big characters. So I
yeah.
think if Sammy was able to captain that team, ruffling feathers no won't necessarily be a
No,
problem.
no, no, definitely not. But going back to the questions, I would, thank you for people coming and commenting on YouTube and stuff. And we'll, we like to interact with you also. We do really do appreciate it. And let us know what you think in terms of obviously the discussion regarding the series against Ireland. And also let us know any questions that you want us to discuss next week when we discuss the series against England, which is the upcoming series. And any questions, obviously, Kieran will get back to you with from his insight perspective and things like that. So we do really appreciate the interaction, and we'll address a lot of the questions on the pod. But yeah, thank you very much. Anything else to add, Kai?
No, just looking forward to the Ireland series. I know there's a lot of cricket coming up, actually. You've got not only the Ireland and England series, you've got the A team series as well.
Yep,
So
absolutely. Which
I
he's
think,
looking forward to naming that
yeah,
squad after we've gone into a lot of detail over that. So, I wonder if the selectors have been listening.
yeah, hopefully. Let's see.
Exactly.
Let's
Well,
see.
brilliant to catch up anyway, Kai.
Awesome. Cheers, John.